Here I'm concerned about the BIM, which is Building Information Model, and how we can improve this tool, our architectural design tool, using the information territory and the communication revolution, which has been done through satellites. It's not based on the satellite itself, as many researchers presented today, but I'm talking about our tool and how we can globalize and make internationalize for this tool based on the sustainability principles, which we will took from for architecture through 3 decades with the evolution of information and the interfere about IT, information technology, and software programs. We as architects use the information, the programs, the architectural software, mainly the BIM, which has been introduced before 15 years, and it affects our production, our buildings, and our environments through the architectural and urban design. And of course, as we know that buildings and our industry for buildings is concerned about 60 to 65% of consuming of the energy. So when we are talking about protect our planet and sustainability, we are concerned about architectural industry buildings. How we can use these new techniques, which is BIM, the Building Information Model, and improve our production to minimize the energy consuming, to increase the water efficiency of the building, and a lot of principles about sustainability. So the vision now, after 2000, 2005 and 2008 exactly, that we need zero carbon footprints, we need zero waste, sustainable transportations, local and sustainable materials, local and sustainable food, sustainable water. How we can implement all these targets and all these visions in our profession, architecture, and building industry. Now, the new techniques of architecture implement the 3D as one of the directions, 4D is a time, and 6D is sustainability. This is our basics. So for the literature view, what's the BIM? The Building Information Model is a process involving the generation and management of digital representations of physical and functional characteristics of all building components. There are many definitions of building information modeling, but it's simply the means by which everyone can understand a building through the use of digital model. Modeling an asset in a digital form enables those who interact with the building to optimize their actions, resulting in a greater life value for the assets. We input all the building information inside the software, but we till now all the principles of sustainability, which is focusing by a lot of rating systems like LEED, BREEAM, Istidama, QSAS, Green Pyramid in Egypt, all these rating systems focusing on sustainability principles. They are talking about such principles, around 7 principles, sustainable sites, which we localize all the sites, and we are talking about green fields and brown fields and how we can protect the planets to our grandsons. Water efficiency, how we can protect the water, especially for the countries who suffer from lack of water. Energy and atmosphere, material and resources, how we can use local materials and materials which doesn't harm the environment. Indoor environmental quality, and through the innovation of design, how we can, through passive design, how we can reduce the energy consumption. And finally, the regional priority. I have another presentation after tomorrow for the regional priority and how we can improve LEED. LEED is one of the most important rating system for sustainable rating system in the world. It's used worldwide. It means leadership of energy and environmental design. It's for the United States, but it's used in the Middle East, India, and all over the world. All the rating systems are talking for in the same 7 principles. And each country creates its local system, so local rating systems, and apply it in its region with different weights of these principles. The methodology steps for improving the BIM is to use the information as the fifth dimension of architecture, the information territory. How we can make that we build database inside the BIM, the Building Information Model software. This database we can, during our input for our data for the buildings, for the architecture, it can be reviewed against all the principles. Sustainable sites, water efficiency, energy and atmosphere, local environmental quality, and using the material, the local material and material resources. So sustainability as a part of the BIM information, it's the information related to long-term maintenance of the responsibility, which has environmental, economic, and social dimensions, and encompasses the concept of stewardship, the responsible management of resource use in ecology. Sustainability describes how biological systems remain diverse and productive over time, necessary preconditions for the well-being of humans and other organisms. Second step, define sustainability by basis of LEED input data. Nowadays, when we want to register a building to have LEED certification, silver, certified silver, golden, or platinum, we make it during some documents presented, not during the software itself with the BIM. We register every detail of the building for the energy consumption, for the water efficiency, for the water consumption of the building, material use of the building, like materials that inside this hall. Every part we register documents like what we have seen and send it to the USGBC, United States Green Building Council. So why the idea here, why we can't do it through the BIM? The software, any software that I use, Autodesk or Arc software, Revit or ArchiCAD, any software for the globalizations and using the network all over the world, because it goes to one part in the world and revised with this part. So why it's not revised during the tool itself? Step number 3, presenting the way of measuring the sustainability of buildings. That every country has lack of resources some countries have lack of resources for the energy, some other countries lack of resources of the water, other countries doesn't have any kind of material, of building materials that they import the building materials from outside. So that's why we find a lot of local rating system for sustainability, and the weights of each principle differs from region to another region. So every region should determine a level of measuring for its environment, and through the communication and through the whole database of the world, of each part of the world, that we can measure my building, my design, any architect design in his environment, inside this environment. So if I take this design itself and move it to another region, it will differ. Applying sustainability categories into design tools database. These categories which we have seen, it's imported from LEED, and it's the same if we go to the BREEAM in UK, in QSAS in Qatar, in Amsterdam, and Emirates, Green Pyramids in Egypt, all over the world, the local rating system had the same principles. The difference is the category weight, the credit that each principle has taken, how many points that each category has been taken, because it differs from one region to another region. Maybe my second research is talking about this part, and how we can use the international rating systems to be applied inside our designing tools. Step number 5, test and implementation. As we have already applied this using one of the softwares, one of the platforms, and starting to test the site, the sustainable site itself, with the locations, and see the interaction between the software itself, the BIM, and our production, and it acts very well. So we have tested it. Of course, to put all the data which we have seen, because we have taken one part, one line, not only the same, not only one line, it's a part of this line. So to put all this data inside the software, inside the database of the software, and make it internationally with using the communications that are allowed now through the networks all over the world, that we can make the BIM model platform that can revise our production. For results and findings, this research doesn't produce an application with all lead categories inside certain BIM software. It only tests certain data input and the ability of the program to review the input construction data against its database. The result was great. To input all these sustainability categories inside any BIM software, it will need a huge team of programmers and support. But the result moves towards better building performance and reviewed from the design tool before the rating system reviewers. It will minimize designers and engineers' mistakes, provide them with up-to-date information and regulations, prevents any neglections from the designer side of sustainability principles, even if he doesn't want to issue a sustainability certificate for his design. And for another hand, not all the buildings, because if we go to the USGBC, we will find around 14,000 buildings all over the world registered. Of course, not the building, the whole world doesn't have 14,000 buildings. And it's the biggest rating system used all over the world. So not all the investors, not all the owners want to register their buildings. So their buildings it's not reviewed against sustainability rating systems. If the tool itself review it, so we will ensure it's had the minimum cause or the minimum regulations of the sustainability. Lead and BIM as a design tool, the following part will discuss and analyze the effectiveness of BIM review. Design tools have plenty of drawings and construction database, special BIM programs. They can help the architect against sustainability. Sustainability rating systems such lead define certain forms for each category with reference numbers to can be calculate building performance for this item. All those forms could be transformed into database information inside the design tool and present them sequentially to the user. It will help the user to be closer to sustainability gradually in the project to achieve high level of sustainability. Sustainability has become the same as engineering discipline to the architect. His design should comply with all its requirements, otherwise he will fall into the whole production against the environmental requirements. BIM is a designer engineer drawings pencil nowadays. This tool can review against certain database. The conclusion: architects have a big role to protect our planet through following sustainability principles during the design process. BIM, which is used to produce design and construction documents, can help review their projects against sustainability guidelines. Each country should require sustainability study for each building with the permit documents to protect our planet. BIM nowadays become a mandatory for permit submissions in some countries, such as in the United Arab Emirates. Rating systems should define certain categories that can be implemented in all regions, and difference between them will be on the weight of each category and its credit. Each country should define a base case for different types of buildings and their consumptions of water, energy, etc. It will help architects and engineers to define the sustainability level which they should achieve. Building information model programs will be more helpful for sustainable review because they have plenty of construction database and can produce a list of used materials. They are more prepared for sustainability database. Thank you.
Questions?